So tell me a bit about your upbringing.
Like from young,
Yeah.
I grew up in a very loving family actually. Yeah, like my parents are the very clingy kind who like really loves me.
Yeah.
But I think although they really provided a lot for me, they never really like taught me like the deeper questions in life. And somehow, when I was younger, I just always had a lot of these kind of questions, like what is the purpose of life, and like why am I like that? So things like that was always bothering me. So although on surface things were happy, I think deep down I was really like, there was always like a tug in my heart where I don't really understand what's going on. And my parents couldn't really answer those questions. So I kind of grew up like a happy but troubled kid kind of thing. Yeah. So I think that's my upbringing. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. You grew up a Christian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Grew up Christian. Whole family's in the church. In fact, I'm like the fourth generation. Yeah. Like my whole family is Christian and they're really active in church.
Yeah. Okay. So how was it like growing up as a Christian back then? You're from KL, right?
Yeah, KL.
Yeah.
Cheras.
Okay. So what was your church background?
Church background, it's a very old church. I think you'll be shocked to know how old it is. It's like 85 years old. Yeah, it's really old. The people are really old too. There's a lot of old people. It's a very family church. Like everyone knows one another. I think like my grand aunt is like there. My grand uncle is like there. Everyone's there. Yeah. So since young, like they always encouraged me to like serve. So I remember I started singing in church since like I was 6.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was what growing up in that church felt like. I always felt like it's just part of my family. It's just part of my tradition and growing up. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So was there some sort of turning point in your Christianity in your teen years or something like that?
Yeah, so although like it was like I said, although going to church was always part of like my family's routine, I didn't really get what was going on. Like I mean, I had friends and I had like youth programs to like join, but I could see like it was a bit. It didn't answer the questions that I was asking, and yeah, like I felt like I would benefit more if I stopped joining. Yeah, I was like a little bit rebellious. Yeah, because I just felt like the youth programs weren't really answering any of those questions. A lot of times it was just playing games or having friendly conversations with no depth. So I think it was around 15, 16 when I realized like I can't just ignore those questions. And
what were some of those questions?
Like, why do I need to go to church? Or like, why is the church like this, where people are so messed up and sinful? But at the same time, the New Testament calls us to be holy and calls us to be of righteousness and of a different kind where the world will recognize us as God's disciples. So I could never really understand like why the church was such a sinful place, and everyone was just so like complacent about it, and everyone was just so okay with it, just saying like, oh, God will forgive you, and then we move on. So I couldn't reconcile the tension, and I felt like the church was very hypocritical in that way.
Yeah.
So that was what I struggled with as a 16, 17-year-old.
Yeah. Okay, wow, that's pretty young to be thinking of some of these questions, I think. So what do you do with some of those questions? Do you take it to another church, or do you just kind of bury it?
I think, yeah, because those questions really bothered me, but because I didn't really know how to deal with it, I think I just went more and more inward, and I went more and more like there was no biblical basis, there was no biblical guidance, so I kind of just thought the solution was me, you know, because like the world kept telling me like, oh, you are the agent of change, and you know, when you see something's wrong, you should make a difference. So although I saw the problem in the church and in the world, I just kept thinking like the solution was me. The solution was, you know, to find inner peace, and therefore like things can change or whatever.
Yeah.
So that's when I started my own path of just looking for my own answers. So yeah, I would like read the Bible on my own with no guidance. I would like pray to God, talk to God on my own with no guidance. And at one point I thought the answer was to leave the church and just do my own thing and just have a personal relationship with God and just stay true to God, and that's it. And somehow the church will magically change or something like that. I mean, that's what I thought in my young naivety.
Yeah, okay. So what happened after that? Did you end up leaving the church?
Yeah. It was quite funny because like my parents were like, what the heck? Like, why are you leaving the church? Sorry, let me drink water.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was only like 17 and my parents was like, you're crazy, girl. Because you're like the 4th generation in the church and you want to leave. But they couldn't answer me because I kept saying, I just felt like God is calling me out of the church and I can't stay here. If I stay here, I'm not growing. And they couldn't answer me because like, oh, I mean, yeah, fine. Unless if you're saying it's for God, then okay, lor, leave, lor. I mean, of course it was sad, but yeah, they just couldn't really answer me. So I decided to just leave. Which in hindsight is quite scary because I was only like, what, 17?
Yeah.
And yeah, so basically for like a few months, I would just skip church, not go to church and stay at home. Just play some worship songs and just open my Bible and just vibe with God. And that's it. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, why do I need a church? Yeah, and I would just meet other Christian friends.
Yeah.
And just I'm like, oh yeah, that's encouraging one another right there, right? So I don't need the church. So yeah, I would visit churches still because I was still a bit pious. I still felt like I think I need to find a church. But the more I visited, the more I was like, I think they're all the same anyway. So at one point I just decided to not visit any churches and just stay in my room and just do my own thing.
Yeah. So how do you end up in CRC then? It's like a huge jump from TAP to CRC.
So I met so Isabel, my friend Isabel, who's also a membership candidate. Yeah. She was also going through a somewhat similar phase. Like we both kind of left our church at the same time because we both shared the same sentiments of like feeling frustrated at the church, feeling lost, feeling like we need to do something. So we both kind of decided to leave for a bit different reasons, but pretty much same thoughts lah. Then although she's from Penang, she came to KL to study in MCKL. So yeah, so she was kind of churchless for a few months as well. But one day she found CRC in a very random way, and she just invited me to CRC. I remember we didn't talk for like a month because we were both like really emotionally lost. And although like we were still in good terms, we were just kind of like troubled in our own ways. But randomly one afternoon, she called me. She was like, "Kristen, I found this church," and like they actually open the Bibles. Yeah, and like they're just so weird. I'm like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like, do you mean they are very old and they sing hymns?" And she's like, "Oh no, it's just very different. You come and check out." And I was like, "Wow, that sounds pretty cool," because I thought only the old churches open the Bibles and they were singing hymns and they're like very lame and stuff like that. But she was like, "Oh no, this is like just very different." Yeah, so she invited me out for a cup of coffee, and I wasn't expecting much. I thought she was just gonna like invite me to CRC and just catch up with our lives.
Yeah.
Then she opened her like newly bought
Ah.
ESV Bible. I was like, "Girl, since when?" Because we never did that in our last meetups. We never did that throughout our friendship. But she randomly like opened the Bible and she read Romans 1-3 with me. At that point, I was pretty much at my rock bottom already. I was almost at the end of my search of churches, and I was giving up. I was this close to deciding that I'm just not gonna look for churches anymore, and I'm just gonna give up. So that's why I was pretty desperate for answers. Internally I was also very lost. I don't know why I'm like that. I don't know why I'm so troubled and so annoying with all these annoying little questions, because my friends are all like happily just studying for SPM, right? So I was internally also I was just very sad and lost. So she read Romans 1-3. She was very new to reading the Bible, so honestly she just read it out, like 3 chapters. And I think when I got to Romans 3, there's no one righteous, no, not one, and no one who seeks God. I think that just shattered my world, because that's when I realized like the Bible is talking about me, you know. It's not just talking about my church or the hypocritical people that I hate or like the world that I hate, but it's me. It's how I'm this lost and I'm this troubled because I don't know God, because I don't seek God. And I think that was one of the most striking moments where I realized it's always a problem against God, and it's not a problem of just me feeling emotional or going through a phase or whatever. So then she invited me to CRC, and my first service was the Good Friday service in 2019. So there's that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you find it to be a struggle the first time you came to CRC, and why did you continue coming?
Right off the bat, I could tell CRC was really different. First of all, the food was quite nice. So shout out to food and catering team. And then I met like 2 girls, and they were just super friendly. I remember I was telling them that I study near, my high school was near their uni, and they were like, "Oh, let's go for ice cream," even though I just met them. Which is a world of difference, because I just visited like many mega churches in Klang Valley, and I remember I would walk in and out of the hall and no one would notice me at all. And I could literally just sit there for 2 hours and just go home and be perfectly invisible. And I would be happy because I wanted that. But when I came to CRC, like they were very intentional in talking to me, in making sure even after the sermon, I remember the usher would like, "Hey, Kristen, come talk to her." And they would like, make sure I understand the sermon and think about the sermon. And I remember Pastor Robin was preaching the Good Friday sermon. I remember finding it weird that he wasn't covering like the crucifixion, and instead he was covering I think Matthew 9 or 7, I can't remember, but it was definitely not straight up just let me talk about the cross. He built up a lot of like context on the book of Matthew and what Jesus has come here to do. And I remember one of his main key points was that Jesus isn't here to add value to your life or to just make your life better, which I kept treating Jesus like that at that point. And he kept saying like Jesus is here to completely change who you are from a sinner to his disciple, from the inside out. He kept repeating that, and and I remember that really made sense to me after learning about how sinful we are in Romans 3.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it wasn't really difficult, and I could see that CRC was different, and I liked it, the Good Friday service.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any like really cool or very memorable experiences here in CRC since you came here regularly?
After the Good Friday service, although I loved it, I honestly found it a little hard to commit to it, because number one, CRC is so far. Like I stay in Chera, so like coming to CRC in public transport takes like an hour, and I remember just hating it. Like, oh, I have to come all the way to Sunway. So at one point I was a bit like, although it's good, but it's just too much commitment. So I was always like kind of like dragging my feet. But then one day, the first time so at first I just came for GGs, not Sundays yet. But then the first time I came for Sundays, and I went to Central, and I remember I saw a quote on above the thought board. Yeah, it says something like, Christianity is not a religion, it's not a relationship, it's the reality that the world revolves around. So you either deal with it or you die. And I was like, whoa, how can you have such a angsty quote on the wall? But it made sense, because like at that point I was like really struggling with coming to terms with the fact that, you know, I'm a changed Christian and I've been saved by God and I should commit to his church. And when I looked at that quote, it just made complete sense. You know, reality is not whether I need to take the LRT for an hour, although I mean that was painful, but reality is as simple as what Christ died for, you know, who Christ is now and how he has died for the church. That was a interesting quote, and I was like, wow, this church is crazy but very good. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're pretty young. You're 21, 22 now, is it?
20.
You're 20 now. Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you, I mean, rarely do we ever have people with the privilege of being reformed and being exposed with deep teaching at such a young age. So, you know, given that you are so young, how do you think, or how would you love to use your life for Jesus' ministry here in CRC for the next few years?
Even though it's been 3 years, I think this question is both simple and difficult to answer. Yeah, simple because the call is always straightforward. It's always to deny yourself, pick up your cross, and follow Jesus. But you know, I still struggle. I still struggle to really work out all the decisions in my life to really make sure I'm giving my all to Jesus, not wasting a single molecule in my life.
Yeah.
But I think so. Right now, I'm a university student, so in that sense, I'm making sure my uni years are not gone to waste. So I'm pretty heavily involved in my campus, in my uni's CF. So that's where I really get to put a lot of what I learn into practice. So teaching people the Bible, discipling other friends and other peers, and doing stuff like social media and marketing. It's all to really make sure I'm making my uni years count by growing God's kingdom, even in something as seemingly just for studies, which is the campus university. So I think making sure these 3 years count will reflect what kind of adulthood I would live out now.
Yeah.
I think the value that has really been instilled in me is ministry never stops. All of life is ministry. Even when you work hard for your career, even when you work hard to care for your parents, it's all ministry. It's all about this Christian who is dedicating their life to God, to worship God. So in the future, I don't have a set plan yet, but definitely it's always that trajectory of prioritizing the church first, making sure my decisions are centered around the church, what the church needs, and then just working out the practicalities of like how exactly that should be done. Sorry, no set plan yet. But definitely that trajectory, and I would want the church to keep me accountable to that as well, to never compromise in centering my life around the church's needs and not my own.